Hello, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. I've had a busy day today. Can you believe from 10 o'clock up to this moment, I've been sitting on this chair from one conversation to another conversation to reading a book to conversation and to sending an email out just now. It's insane, but here we go. It's good to have you on board, and I have been inspired by your work. Surprisingly, are you a DJ or what is that?
Yeah, well, I started out as a DJ, and I've been doing computers and music for quite a while. So DJing since the '80s, along with computer programming. So
Really?
yeah, when people ask about the audio pharmacology, they kind of see the DJ associated with a club or something aspect, and they don't really get to see the full picture of what I do or how I've been doing it for this long. It's always been science, technology, music. And
Oh,
then
I
it's, you know,
see.
yeah,
Really? Very interesting.
yeah.
Very interesting. So you've been doing science, technology, and music for quite a long time, but they didn't realize it
Yeah,
up
they
until
had no
this
idea
moment.
because actually the healing component came later on in life, but I always lived kind of a healthy lifestyle. So growing up in America,
Impressive.
well, let me not say that because I was eating garbage as children because we didn't know what good food was.
We all do.
But in regards to like substances and alcohol, I never did that. So it was difficult being in America because when I would travel and go to India or some Arabic countries, I was normal then. But here, it's hard. Or when I'm touring in other countries, I was a person like in Japan, they call me, my nickname is Mr. Clean because my diet, I don't do anything, so they call me Mr.
Mr.
Clean.
Clean,
Yeah.
incredible, incredible name. It's a very good because cleanliness is closer to God. You see, to the
Thank you.
source. There we go. It's very important. Tell me a human being who is close to God, and I'll tell you that their lifestyle is very clean.
Yes, yes. So, then later on, when I, found meditation, Qigong, yoga, um,
Impressive.
then that developed into kind of a sound therapy type of thing. That's when I just was like, you know what? I feel better just totally immersed over here. And I've been doing that for quite some time now, just immersing everything over into those other directions that has some type of, whether it's a spiritual health and awareness component to it. Yeah.
Fascinating. So, did you? I'm going to take my time with this because I want to enjoy this conversation a lot, and I want to delve deep. And did you did you study audio pharmacology, or is it is a study, or is it just a name put together, or what is audio pharmacology? What is it about?
So, I have several definitions, and I'm trying to find the one that relates the best to people. I just intuited the best small little statement that gets it to the like that hits it on the nail. So I consider audio pharmacology is of an integrative Eastern and Western energy therapy process that uses frequency as pharmacy. So I like to say frequency as pharmacy. So think
Fascinating.
about energy, and it doesn't just deal with sound because sound is audible and inaudible, but it deals with light and different things as well. So and vibrations and etc.
Indeed.
Yeah. And your question was, did I study audio pharmacology?
Yeah.
My path is quite different than most of my colleagues um, in the sound therapy, qigong type of arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people go get certified under a minimum amount of hours. So they say, I want to get my 200-hour yoga certificate, and then they go teach. I wasn't introduced to the healing arts and sciences or therapies in that form. It started off from being physically ill,
Of
going through the
course.
medical system, the medical system failing me, and my active, well, my inactive, let me say the correct thing, being an inactive, I had an inactive role in my healing process, and wanting to change that is when I sought alternative therapies, and then learning that those alternative therapies are actually traditional therapies because they've been around longer, and
Absolutely.
wanting to pursue my health, and healing through that. Um, then later on, taking a qigong class and a meditation class through this society called a Saraset Society. You're in London, right?
Yeah, in England, but in
In England,
Bristol. Yeah,
Bristol. Okay, okay, Bristol.
Bristol.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, two different places, so I know.
Indeed. Yeah, cool, cool.
But
Yeah,
in
of
in
course.
London, they have an organization there as well. That's why I just asked that question. But and once I learned more about things like brain entrainment, how meditation affects the physiology of the body and the nervous system and the lymphatic system, and then also the energy in the environment, the room,
Yeah.
and our future aspirations and things like that. That's when I was like, wow, this is, I wish I'd have known this because, breathing is free. You don't have to pay to breathe. Well, with the air pollution situation on the planet, that might not be the case,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so the Qigong portion really hit home with me because I was just always into, the Shaolin arts. When we were younger, we were watching Samurai Sundays. There was this thing in the States where on Sundays, all day, bro, it was karate movies.
Really, yeah. I did the same thing in Nigeria. We didn't actually go focus on, karate, but we did watch Mr. Miyagi. Is that Mr. Miyagi, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
kids, and we do watch a lot of cartoons on weekend because that's the only time we get to watch TV on weekends. So
Right,
like
right.
all weekend is just cartoon and Mr. Miyagi and the Spider-Man and Batman. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So when I immersed myself in Qigong, I wanted to enhance my practice
Hmm.
and my lifestyle. And that's when I was shown through deep meditation different systems. And what would happen is that vision will come in meditation, and then I'll just go online and Google, or somebody will send me something, or just it. It's weird because when people say, "Well, you get all this information from?" Because when I lecture around the world, that's the first question, like, "Where you get all this information from? Who taught you this stuff?" And I'm just like, it kind of found me because I aligned myself with it. It found me, and what happens is the more I align with it, more people like yourself starts sending me things that they feel that aligns with me, and I begin to, when I go places, certain people just come around me that align with me, and my most of my experience in sound and the healing arts has been just traveling to different countries and immersing myself with gurus, maestros, shaman, medicine men, medicine women, being in the bush with the Maasai and Samburu,
Wow.
and things like that, like going to shrines in Asia, particularly Japan, and then India. That's a whole nother story. That's the kingdom
Wow.
of shrines and temples. So I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
sought to like certify myself
Yeah.
in healing arts because it's like in tradition you have to learn through experience, and what I find is there's so many people just trying to do it just to make money, so they'll get their yoga certificate and it's like, I'm out teaching, but they might not be a great teacher.
Yeah.
And healing, I really don't refer to that term. I more refer to the term therapy. And when you're trying to provide therapy, you have to have some type of experience in what works and what doesn't. versus just getting a certificate and jumping out there and say, hey, I learned these singing bowls, and these singing bowls can heal cancer and all of these things, which is not the case, all the time. So what I find myself doing is actually immersing myself in the experience and then sharing that experience with my clients and things like that by adding the science and the research and the repetition, seeing what works often. Um, Lately, I've been collaborating with a team of people with the Medical Sound Association out of California, and it's people all over the world, where we are making an attempt to bring the sound healing or sound therapy into the medical industry. So that means we have to do,
Fascinating.
thank you, yeah, we have to do
Fascinating. Wow.
quantitative and qualitative research,
Yeah.
test case studies
Yeah.
to make this real.
Measured. Yeah.
Yeah.
Measure everything measured. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. Fascinating.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Tell me, tell me about your personal experience on a daily basis along your healing journey. How how you experience the changes or the therapeutic changes in you through interacting with sound and music. And yeah,
So what was the turning point for me is having well, let me just back up. My I told you early on, I've always been into music and computers, IT, programming and networking. So my years of experience in networking started since high school. I was working at a corporation, and then interning with that corporation through college. And then after college, I've been in corporate America just as much as I was full time DJing and touring and producing and running record labels and
yep,
clothing lines. So what happened was, you can just imagine, back then, we were carrying vinyl records, the heavy records and the
yeah,
cases and things. I wasn't getting much sleep. I was in front of the computer at a desk, um,
that makes
probably
sense.
12 to 6, about 12 to 14 hours a day. I, at the maximum, if I could get 4 hours of sleep, that's like heaven for me. So what happened was, from the overuse of my arms, I developed bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome, and it got so bad. And this is what it looked like. This is how my mind and the narrative wasn't agreeing, and was so disconnected from my body. When one of my arms was giving me a problem, I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna stop using this one this week and just type with the other one. And then the other one would start hurting. Then I'll go back to the other one, and the other one start hurting. I go back, and what happened was, over a period of time, both of them just went out. I wasn't able to use both of my arms, hands. I couldn't even like pick up a phone. I couldn't do anything. It was I was just there. So that was the turning point. I remember laying in the bed, and I was like, wow, how did I get here? You know, um, I was working at IBM at the time, so I had a good job. I manifested working at IBM from when I was young. I was telling my mom, from seeing the commercials on television, seeing the IBM guys in these, they were the only ones that had these short sleeve dress shirts. I don't know if you ever seen those, but they're not long
Yeah,
sleeve. They were
yeah,
short
yeah,
sleeves, and they had the
yeah. I
pocket
know them.
protectors. So
Yeah,
I was like, man, that's the look I want. I want to work for IBM. So eventually, when I manifest working for the job, I overextended myself. Um, and when I got the bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome, and then I'm laying in the bed, like, how did I get here? I did everything right. And now I can't use my hands to do anything. So everything that I had scripted as being goals that were, they didn't even have a logical timestamp to them. So, for example, as a DJ, I always wanted these turntables called Technique 1200s. we grew up in a lower middle class family. To me, seems like it was lower than that, but we didn't have much, so we were very innovative and creative. And until this day, my friends say, "Yeah, you were inventing all of these things, you know, that they went and bought. I just took something and transferred it into something that kind of mimicked what they had because I didn't have access to it." So when I got to that point, I said, everything I pushed off, like getting the 12 Technique 1200 turntables, I believe I was like, I'm going to get those when I'm about 35 and blah, 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 blah. I was making enough money to get it. It just was like, I'm going to get those when I'm 35 and I'm going to do this, this, this. I had everything like planned out. It's shift where I wanted to start living my life outside of the job because everything was just the job. And then outside of the job, I was doing the music and things, but I couldn't stay immersed in it because I had to get back to the job. So that shift led me to learning about homeopathy. Um, Later on, Ayurveda, and then later on, further on, meditation and Qigong. And what that looks like physically, of what the question you ask, is being able to feel my body and be responsible for how it felt slowly. So as my arms began to, I guess, I regained strength in my arms and things from doing, they had physical therapy they sent me to, and then, physical therapy and occupational therapy. I had both. Um, when I began to do that, I was like, okay, this is one aspect, but my mind was very bitter. I was angry because I was doing everything I felt that was right, and everything was going wrong in my world. So seeing that anger dissipate after I started the meditation practice later on made my organs and everything inside of my body like I remember before then
Mm.
it'd take a week just to have one bowel movement. You know what I'm saying? And that was doing good. Lower
Wow.
back pain, was, I had that since young. Um, Joint pains and things like that. Some of those things still come and go. It's just I have to keep them in check. But it's all about me having control over that. So when and during that period, I was about 280 pounds. I don't know what that's in kilos, but I was double my size right
Wow.
now. When I start seeing the weight go away, some of the things that I just made new normals, um, they went away. And I was just like, wow, I can actually feel my body.
Is that
Um,
from resting and from doing the physical therapy and
well, when I began to feel my body, the strength came back from the physical therapy, but the feeling my body was the meditation and Qigong. There's nothing in my experience that has brought me into body consciousness, mind consciousness, energy consciousness, um, the electromagnetic field, so universal consciousness, um, like Qigong. So when I started doing Qigong, I was like, wow, I can feel when I'm sending energy to my liver or liver over here or down to my stomach, to my heart, my kidneys in the back, and
yeah.
seeing the shift in emotions because each organ is associated with emotion. So I used to have fear of heights, and that went away. I couldn't get up on the ladder without I just didn't go. I was just like, or stand near a cliff or do things that was kind of high up. That kind of dissipated as well. My anger just started to dissipate. My worry started to dissipate. Um, And what I notice is when I have a particular mindset or a particular feeling about something, in Qigong, they say, depending upon if the organ is in balance or out of balance, that's when that emotion shows itself up, different food cravings and things like that. I can tell if I'm having a particular day, you know, um, where my organ is, and I go and work on that organ, and 90 to 100% of the time, I'm shifted.
That's
Um,
incredible. Is
yeah.
that through the practice of Qigong?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
the standing, like standing and then like a arced kind of standing and movement?
Right. A sound, movement, and
Is that you
meditation.
mean like sound? I think I'm confusing. Qigong is the one that uses a sound, bowl sound, or
No,
the
no, 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 not the gong. Qi gong. Okay, so like Tai Chi. No, this is a great
yes,
question. This
yes.
is a great question. So Qi Gong is really close to Tai Chi. The only difference is Qi Gong has what we call you have medical sounds to Qi Gong. So for
Med
stagnation,
medical sound Qigong.
yeah.
Wow.
So for the
Okay.
heart, is ha, kidney, shri, lungs. So as you're doing these moves with the sound, you're beginning to resonate your body. So it's more than just feeling it through your mind. You're actually doing
Yeah.
the sounds with it. So it
I've
begins
never
to
had that
resonate the
before.
body.
I have never seen that before.
Oh man, we got to do it together online.
That would be great. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. And usually when people do the medical sound qigong, you instantly gonna feel something because what's happening is you're resonating your body with intention, and just that resonance is gonna feel different. It's just gonna feel different when you're sustaining notes versus you're just moving in quiet. And we do that version too. That's a tonification, and purification are the sounds when we're trying to purify something. So we want to create a vibration to move the stagnation and move the chi, which is energy, through the body. So the sounds help with that. And then when you
Yeah.
want to tonify, you don't really need the sound. You just need the energy to move, through the body.
Is
Yeah.
that the where they just do movement?
Yes. Yes.
Is that where they
Yep.
just movement? No
Exactly.
sound.
No
Yeah.
sound. Yep.
No sound. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
see. And then of course they synchronize the movement with the breathing. Is that right?
Very important.
Yeah.
The breath. That's the mother of life. Like learning all of these things. Oh, another thing, you had asked a great question. When I learned how to breathe, because most majority of the planet don't know how to breathe right.
Yep. Yep.
We're
Yep.
breathing opposite.
Totally.
So when I learned how to breathe, I was just like, man, I have more energy, but I can feel. You know how when oxygen hits your cells, there's like a spark of life, it feels like. And that's what deep breathing does. It gives you this spark of life. Um,
Absolutely.
so when
I
I
call it
started,
I call it drawing energy from the quantum field. You
yes,
know, there's
yes.
the 0 point energy that is in the fluctuation.
Hmm.
Through breathing, we are drawing that energy into our autonomic nervous system. That's the way I view it. Just the same way we can draw energy from the field
Hmm.
that can power our civilization for 1,000 years without any waste. We are also drawing the field, the energy from the field through breathing, correct deep breathing.
Exactly.
That's the way I talk about it. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And how I begin to feel when I started breathing is when I would say, like, if I'm in front of someone and they're saying something that's offensive to me. And back then, I'm tight. I'm just.
Yeah, yeah,
So when we started learning meditation and learning how to view, you know, what I want to say, our emotions. Our emotions are energy.
yeah.
So If we feed the emotions with that energy, it's going to run and do what it's supposed to do. So anger is going to run and be angry. We are not controlled by emotions, and that's what was key that in learning that system with the Kemetic yoga society is we are not, and Buddhism teach the same thing, Taoism teaches the same thing, Hinduism teaches the same thing. We are not, enslaved by our emotions. So if a person is saying something and it triggers me via a meditative process, I'm actually now thinking like, why is this triggering me? Is what they're saying true? And do I have to like respond via the emotion? I can choose how to respond.
Indeed.
And if you choose a more peaceful, lighter way, your organs don't get affected,
Indeed.
as much. So I had a serious, like, after I learned that, it got extreme for me. It was just like, oh man, I'm not wasting any energy on things that doesn't, personify it
Yeah,
or
yeah.
uplift
And
it.
it's very interesting. You keep saying the word, it doesn't affect your organs, how you respond to a situation, whether anger with fear, it affect its organs, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And the organs are the vital, like, are the engine that keeps you, that determines your longevity,
Exactly.
isn't it? They
Exactly.
are the engine, they're the important part of this engine that determine our longevity. And if you have startup anger, startup fear, passive aggressiveness, you're going to take the life out of those organs and you're going to die quicker, or end up with some disease before. So
Yes.
yeah, interesting.
So we learned that the natural state of the body, what in medical science call homeostasis, is at peace. You know, so anything outside of that, the body's, the immune system is trying to work, the nervous system is trying to work, the lymphatic system is trying to bring you back to peace because it wants balance.
They want
So in
balance.
the yin yang system, that's what it's all about. It's like, what's out of balance? You're gonna have this. So it's like, what are you gonna, how are you gonna bring it back? Let's bring that back into balance. And and when you do that, what I noticed too is my immune system quicken because I used to have allergies before even the word allergy was in. It was just colds at the time. We weren't even, because I was younger, and my friends would come over and we go play basketball or football or soccer or whatever. And they're like, man, you always have a cold in the summer, winter, spring, fall. You're always like sneezing and things like that. And later on, when the whole studies came out about, oh, these are not colds, these are allergies, seasonal allergies, and then they created meds and different things, and um, related them to allergy
Yeah.
tests and pollen and all that other stuff. So what I notice is when when I started to get into these things and immerse myself in them, I didn't get the allergies as much. I didn't catch colds. Now, when I used to catch a cold, it used to last a month plus. You know,
Wow.
I, even my parents and people. Hold on, let's see. This meeting has upgraded by the host. All right, cool. Um, my parents and other people were like, "Wow, you're barely, sick." Now, before I was in a hospital, I would go to the ER. I had GERD, the medicine from that, and the corticosteroids they were giving me for the carpal tunnel, and all these different other things created like ulcers. Then they gave me medicine for ulcers, and it just kept adding up. Where
Absolutely.
and I tell people who know me now don't know me then, but I was angry, depressed, and I was just like, life sucks because I didn't feel good from all those meds and my body didn't feel good. So I often reference Qigong and meditation for saving my life. It really did. I don't think I would probably be around right now if I didn't
Interesting.
get into it. Yeah.
So how did you get into sound, into your audio from how did you get from there? How did you get into sound and I don't want to rush this, and sound and the quantum rhyme. How did he move into sound?
So that's a great question. When I was doing the Qigong to there was this CD. It's the Tree of Life Qigong CD, and it has music to it. So the music is the same for each track. It's just the guys doing different sounds. And
Okay.
I was doing it. And I was like, man, this is good. It's making me feel good. But I wanna. I'm a person that immerse myself in. So I'm one of those guys. Some people want to put they toe in the pool. I'm just
And that's
like,
it.
no, no. Let me go up to
Yeah.
the top of the tallest building and then jump all the way
And
in.
all the way in and find new ways of getting in the pool.
Exactly. So, and that could be dangerous. So I had to learn, you gotta, but I immersed myself into something. So, as I was immersing myself into Qigong, I was like, what if I was to create music, change my whole production and studio style? Because my music already had the vibrations in it. Um, I wasn't aware of what I was creating. So when the Qigong idea came about, let me create my own music for the different organs, is when the bridge of my music career met the health and healing arts sciences. So I wanted to create music for the lung that actually just was just for that. I wanted to create music that was
For
for
the
the
what?
kidney, for the
For
lung.
the kid for the
Yeah,
lung.
right, and the
Interesting.
kidneys and etc. Just the different organs.
So there's a different music for each organs. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, and that
Wow.
music has different frequencies for them.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. Really?
yeah. So, and I have a
Interesting.
Bandcamp the site. That's matter of fact, that is the most selling one I have. Like people, I was shocked. People were using it in meditation sessions, and I would go into places and they'd be playing. I was like, okay. um, so that was the first bridge, and then again, like I said, I immersed myself more and more and more. So I wanted to. I think that's when I became aware of solfeggio frequencies, which a lot of people are aware of now. And back
What's
then, it
that?
wasn't
What
solfeggio
frequency?
frequencies. Yeah,
Okay.
solfeggio. So
Solfeggio.
they
What is that?
it's the
Solfeggio.
frequencies of the Gregorian chants that actually Pythagoras helping influence those frequencies, but they actually came from Kemet in ancient Egypt. So it's the day, ra, mi, fa, sol, whatever.
Oh, cool.
Those,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those frequencies, was a big thing at the time. It was like, the 528 is the love frequency and it's the heal and repair DNA. And that's when I was like, hold up, heal and repair DNA. And then they showed some scientists who played the 528 frequency and the DNA actually broken, that was broken came and, reformed. And I was just like,
Repair. Yeah.
okay, I want this. So I was putting the 528 frequency, and you're lucky today. I'm doing something that I don't do in the lectures, and I'll just play what that sounds like, and we'll have it in a recording too.
Thank you.
Uh, so I would play the 528 frequency. Let's see. Let me turn it down. So I would play this frequency. You can hear it, right?
Yeah.
I would play this frequency with the guy's music at first. And then I bought me some DNA nucleotide tuning forks, and I would tune up to those, had that frequency, and this frequency would be resonating in my home all day until I was married at the time, until my ex-wife got home, because she ain't gonna want to hear this frequency. But I had this thing on all day in a background, like a low hum. So I was doing my qigong to the 528 because I was thinking if I can heal and repair my DNA, and then I'm intentionally doing the organ sounds, that's going to heal those organs, even faster. So then I was like, well, let me go deeper. Are there frequencies for the organs? And that's when I would go into deep meditation, and then I found frequencies for the organs. And then I would do other frequencies that will come in my dreams. I would validate them via I do oracle card systems and or I Ching. So I would do readings and stuff on these frequencies and test them out, keep doing readings, test them out, keep doing reads. And when I felt, you know, the complete system come together, that's when things, when I would do the Qigong, it was just like, it was really powerful. So when I started going back to the classes, no, I was in the classes with the other people at the society I was practicing with. My Qigong practice, like, it was way advanced in there. So I was doing the same moves, but you can tell my body was changing and everything had shifted faster.
Wow.
My energy level was just, you know, was a different vibration, you know.
Is
It
that
just,
because of the sound? Because you were listening to the sound all day before you?
yeah, that, and then the Qigong music. When I created Qigong music, they had different music with some of the frequencies embedded. Because it's difficult to listen to these single tones. People think it's feedback and it's annoying. But
I can
actually,
imagine.
in sound therapy, what happens is, in music, music is a group of frequencies just played back in chords and things like that. You don't really get a chance to have something resonate a organ too long. It's moving too fast. So it gives you more of an emotional response. Where in sound therapy is a little bit different. We're trying to resonate a particular, whether it's organ, if you believe in chakras, systems and things like that,
Yeah.
for over a period of time. And to do that, you have to have sustained notes, standing waves, and pure tones. And that's what this is. This is a pure tone. There's no piano. A piano is, well, 528 is not on the piano, but the same key is, because it's the key of C. So I think on the piano, yeah, C, center C is 512.
Yeah.
So if you used to go hit the piano in the center C, that's 512, the frequency 512. So
Really? I didn't know that. Interesting.
yeah, when you hit the frequency 512 on a piano, I'm talking about the traditional piano, it goes ding, and there's a little echo. There's a reason why Beethoven, Mozart, and some of those people had special theaters designed for their music, because they wanted reverberation. This was before reverbs were created, because the more sustained a note is, the more it resonates the body. So in a cathedral, in a hall, something doesn't go boom, because the piano was go bing, but if you was to put it in the hall, it goes boom.
To resonate, vibrate throughout. To
Right.
hold the
Yeah, hold that resonance for as long as it can, then you hit it again. So when they created, because like tuning forks, people are using tuning forks in the healing arts, but tuning forks were also actually used to tune instruments, you know. So they hit the tuning fork and then they would tune the different, you had a tuning fork for each of the keys on the piano. That's a lot of tuning forks to tune to. So I delve in both acoustic and electronic instruments. In acoustic instruments, you have to add some type of electronics or room design to get it to reverb. But also, even with the best room designs, it won't stay for a long period of time. It's gonna, you know, dwindle down, and then you won't be able to hear it no more. Where as you see this frequency in the background, it'll stay on as long as the power is on. So what that does to the body, as it hears it over a longer period of time, it begins to entrain the organs or to train the brain to that. So that's the importance to understand that. A lot of people like, well, yeah, I make healing music, you know, and they're just playing chords and stuff, and it makes you feel emotionally good, you know, because music is the only thing that lights up every hemisphere of the brain at the same time. So you're going to get an experience from it regardless. But when we're talking about frequencies, what frequencies are being used and what are their functions, that's where audio pharmacology comes in, because I'm more concerned about not just the music. I'm concerned about the frequencies being a pharmacy. Like what is this frequency or the frequencies doing together.
doing together, and also sustaining that resonate
Yeah.
for 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 a long time, or for however long the body needs entrainment for.
Yeah. So, say for instance, like the brain to be entrained.
Yeah,
The brain entrainment starts after 21 minutes. So, there's a lot of people with these quick hacks on the internet. Let's just breathe in. And majority of the people who are teaching these breath workshops, they're not teaching how people how to breathe. They're just like breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So people are not engaging a breath as a deep diaphragmic breath, number one. But two, they're not giving enough time for the science to happen. You can hack the science, but let's face it. Um, would you want to buy a hack computer or your CPU that's hacked, or a CPU, because that's our brain, that's fully functional and you're giving it time to do the process. So
indeed.
your brain is actually going to speed up if you meditate. Like, I can run on with just a whole bunch of different things if I had enough sleep and I've eaten the right food, nourishment. That's what people, they laugh at me. My last interview, I can just go on and on and on. And that's because when you're meditating, you're accessing that gray matter, right?
Absolutely.
And as you're even learning new things every day, which is very important, I want to say that there's science behind learning something new every day, how that exercises the mind. You won't have to hack the meditation process. The meditation process will hack life. You see, so we have to look at it different. Use the meditation longer and it'll speed things up. And that's another thing I want to mention is you asked me how these things have affected my life. I can honestly say, and all people who've known me before and after, I used to spend a lot of time, like some of the things I worked to manifest would take like 5-10 years. And that's why I was depressed. They don't take that long, some couple of days, months, if a year at that, but that year manifestation back before meditation and all these other practices would have taken probably a decade. So your mind is much more focused. Your body is much more efficient with these systems. So you're hacking life with that. I see often people are certifying and quickly doing these things and trying to teach these practices of how to make the meditation practice shorter, or 1 minute a day, and you're good.
Yeah,
And they're thinking
yeah.
they're like some Buddhist priest meditation. Like, this is
No,
equivalent to the Buddhist monk. It's like, no, it's not. Yeah.
it's very interesting because what you're saying to me, what you're saying right now, are a lot of my curiosity about the brain function and the speed of thought and creativity
Mm-hmm.
and manifestation, because manifestation manifestation is part of our individual evolution. If you cannot manifest, your evolution would be very slow. That's just a fact, right? Would be
Exactly.
very slow, and you could be eaten by whatever, you know. So, and for example, I use this Kelly. Do you know Kelly Howell?
Yes, that was my first meditation CD. Was her? Was it the Key to Success or
Interesting.
something like that? The-
Secret meditation,
right,
something.
but the Secret to Success. She had a meditation, Secret to
Oh, I
Success,
see.
and she had a. It's two of them. The other one will come to me.
Universal secret meditation.
It wasn't that one. She had a whole
What is
bunch. I
that?
had the Secret to Success, and I had another one that I used to use, and there it was heavy because now I got into her meditation CDs before I believe that was before I was meditating through the society, because I had found some things on subliminal messaging, and they talked about her meditations, positive affirmations under the music. You can't hear the affirmations, but they're there. So I was
Yeah.
like, let me try this out. And definitely, she had always piano on her CDs. it gave me a different feeling about even when I was going out to achieve what I thought was success. Now, through the organization I learned
Yeah.
meditation, my whole success, the whole success template changed. It was like, oh, okay, these things are like, you know, you know what I'm saying, right? As you evolve, you like, well,
As
these
you,
things are
yeah,
just not even.
they
Uh,
even, yeah, yeah, yeah,
so it's good that you mentioned her because
yeah.
her CDs were my first. I actually found some of them
Interesting
the
because
other day. I was like, wow.
as to you, I used the one she talks about universal secret meditation,
Mm-hmm.
where she used this something Adensin. She used this guy, this old guy who is dead now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called universal secret meditation. But what I love about it is that a voice, number one, and the meditation, the guided meditation, it's an hour long meditation.
Mm-hmm.
But for the first 30 minutes, she's guiding you through these particular very spiritual principles that were put together by these what's his name of this guy? Something Adenson. He's died a long time ago
Mm-hmm.
about oneness. Let me show you this. Here it is. Can you say it?
Yeah, I just Googled it. I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And but why I love the principles in the positive affirmation stuff she was talking about. It's not just positive affirmation, but they were based on spiritual principles of oneness, consciousness.
mm-hmm.
And then after 30 minutes, it's just pure binaural beat. And my curiosity is that I do deep breathing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way I breathe is I lie down on my bed when I
Mm-hmm.
wake up in the morning, like sometime 4 o'clock, sometime 5:30. I just
Mm-hmm.
go straight into it. I come to the living room, pick up my tablet, plug in my headphone, and lie down on the floor and lie down on my bed. And I do my breathing like slow breathing, like taking staircase through the nose, like I breathe through the nose, like a staircase, like one, two, three, four, one, two, three.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, when I first start, I exhale slowly through my mouth, but with my mouth closed. I exhale. I kind of empty everything out until my body is ready to take that first breath. And
Okay.
then when I do that, and then I take in the breath through the nose, the in breath through the nose, not like one massive inhale, but just small, tiny, like up to 3 steps of inhale, and then I will hold it in my belly. I will hold it, and then after, like, the whole idea is 3 6 3 6 9. Like, you know, if I take an in breath of three, I
Mm-hmm.
hold longer than three, like up to six,
Mm.
and then I exhale very long, maybe 12 exhale, just to
Okay.
empty it again and start again. But I hold. And what I found is that I start playing with the pelvic floor.
Mm.
I start playing with that, like controlling that. I start noticing some vibration through my spine and up to my head. I start noticing that just gently. But it took me time for me to start combining the breathing with the pelvic floor play.
Mm-hmm.
It took me time. I didn't quickly just jump into the pelvic floor. I knew about it. I've been doing it separately by itself, pelvic
Mm.
floor, by playing with the pelvic floor by
Mm-hmm.
itself. But it wasn't until recently, maybe about 3 months ago, I started combining both breathing with the pelvic floor. So it's a very tricky thing. I don't think anyone can teach you about it. I don't know. But people try to teach you, but I actually, yeah. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that when I start breathing, like I'm doing my in breathe through my nose, I'm lying down, I'm breathing in breath. I will be, no, it could be, sorry, it could be on the exhale. When I'm exhaling, I am preparing the pelvic floor. It's like I just open the tap a little. not fully. That's the way I'm trying to explain the pelvic floor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to do the controlling of the pelvic floor.
Mm-hmm.
I can just check in with it if it's ready or not.
Mm.
And I don't go straight for it at the start of the breathing. I
Mm-hmm.
wait for about 30 minutes when my body is well warmed up and ready. And then I check in if it's ready to be controlled. And it's very interesting that when I start combining the breathing exercise, deep belly breathing exercise, with the pelvic floor, I start to feel like something is going up my spine. And it feels, there are times where I will breathe for 2 hours, deep breathe in the morning, and then I will just have lots of energy to be doing exercise. I just get on my front door and start doing exercise, like body weight exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes wonder why I have such energy after, I didn't even do I didn't even do any exercise, just breathing, and I have a lot of exercise. I have a lot of energy, and
Mm-hmm.
I do most of the time before I do exercise. I always do deep breathing, and that really amazing. But what I'm going to ask you, the question is, how can you entrain the brain faster, accurately with this audio therapy, with this sound therapy? Is it, do you control the headphone, or do you control what, where do you control, where do you measure things so that you can pitch it very well?
That is a great question. So when we talk about entrainment, when I begin to study how do I use this sound in different types of functional therapies, um, if it's dealing with the organs, does it eliminate the notion of the brain from the organ? Because there's this thing. Well, there's muscle memory. Does muscle memory happen with or without the brain? Does the nervous system, they say these are systems, they're their own thing. Does it um, alert the body of pain and different things without the brain? So I begin to find the common denominator, and most of the things led me back to, if I can have some type of effect on the brain will also help in the influential healing processes or recalibration, restore, or homeostasis processes within the body. So with that being said, it started with, okay, sound is doing this, but how does that happen? Um, in Qigong, what makes my Qigong practice feel very
Yeah,
expansive
yeah,
is when my mind and my imagination is engaged in the breath and the movement practice.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, linking those two, like, it was perfect that you said, when you first started your breath practice, you heard about the pelvic thing, but you had to get that right. And
Yeah,
then you did the pelvic separately. All you were doing is introducing them to each other. But you
exactly,
you were setting them
exactly.
up though over time.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they become married when they're ready. And that was perfect that you did that, because you instinctively allowed the body to do that. So what my focus is, even when I'm providing therapy sessions, is you'll often see different things from VAT, vibroacoustic tables. You can always see somebody with some headphones on. So I approach things from several different areas: the mind, the body, um, and then we get into the spirit. But I don't talk about the spirit with regular medical sister people.
indeed.
So
You can tell them
so
it's quantum or astrophysics.
yeah, 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 yeah. so, so how do I do that is I'm using some type of entrainment. I don't use a lot of binaural beats. People think I'm really big into binaural beats. Most of the
That's my
time,
question. That's my question. Because I have heard, sorry to cut you. I have heard that binaural beat doesn't do very much to the brain. I've had a guy, I'll talk about a doctor in the state actually said that he actually did an experiment on binaural beat and
hmm
it didn't do very much changes to his brain because he measured it. I can if I remember to find the podcast, I'll send it to you. I forgot the name of the guy. He's also a scientist. So
okay,
yeah,
yeah, you know what was happening when I was experimenting with binaural beats? I was
yeah,
getting headaches. My body was rejecting them. It was like, and I was like, "What's wrong?" This saying it does this. I said, "Oh, I don't know what frequencies this really is," because a lot of people use binaural beats on YouTube because a person say, "Well, this is you know heal your heart."
Elite, yeah, yeah. I've seen it. I have seen it, and I have heard as well that YouTube has messed up. That you don't get what they put in back because YouTube have messed up with the process. So
Exactly. Yeah,
I
the
don't. Yeah, all of that.
degradation of the audio is
Yeah,
suffered when you load it to YouTube. So,
yeah.
um, then I said, well, you know what? I need to know what frequencies are in the sound regiments or protocols or programs, and that's what I like to call them because I am a computer programmer. So I'm actually programming music for a function. I'm using it just like code, and
Indeed,
it's how I look at it. So
fascinating. Yeah,
what I begin to do is search for those frequencies, right? And then add the frequencies for the organ, but that's not enough. That's just like this 528 that's been in the background. I can feel it, but what will make it go even stronger if I added a brain entrainment regimen to get my brain and my breath rate to be more receptive to it? Because that's
exactly. Which is what the breathing does, isn't it? The breathing relaxes the nervous system so that I become very receptive to it. And like
mhm,
you said, if you also include your imagination to it, it also increases
exactly.
the
Exactly.
therapeutic effect. Is that right?
Yes. So then I begin to study how the body heals itself. Most of the healing is done when we sleep in a repair, rebuild, and restore phase. And then also that's when we're most comfortable and receptive, right? Because you're out. So you're in delta or really low theta brainwave state. So my goal is to get a client or a person who's experiencing an immersive experience to first become relaxed. And that relaxation doesn't always happen just, okay, just take, people do the 3 ohms at the beginning or just,
Oh my God,
all right,
what a lot of bollocks.
right.
Yeah.
And then you like, here you go. And it's like, no, it don't work that
Oh, I'm glad
way.
somebody finally said it. I find those yoga teacher a bit interesting. So here
Yeah.
we go. Yeah, they
So
are amazing. But yeah,
so what I do is I focus on long sustained brain entrainment with body like organ frequencies and energy entrainment, and then I also totally believe in entrainment of the brain happens through our senses.
what
So
can you explain that? What does that mean? Firstly, when you say brain entrainment, you're talking about following a particular protocol or protocol or you know um brain entrainments. Are you talking about the consistent application of a particular codes of new or codes musical sound
programs
that
and things like that.
programs
hmm
that's so the entrainment is the consistency of doing that and allowing the rest body sleeping allowing the body to rest and to heal and then again and again and again until is that what
Exactly.
you mean by brain? Okay.
So that is the totality of it. So what also happens is when we are in, the flight, fright, or freeze. So
Yeah.
a lot of people, um, they look at alternative medicine, like acupuncture, like these are needles. I'm scared of that. And even though they've overcome the fear of needles, being stuck is still, you know. So I remember doing a session where one of the centers I work at is owned by an acupuncturist. And she was like, why don't we mix this with your sound thing? And we had people in zero gravity chairs, not just on the floor, So the chairs, it leans back, it allows the blood to circulate properly versus flat. And neither or, both of them are good. It's just a different type of relaxation when you're in a zero gravity chair. Um, it keeps your legs up over the heart, is what I'm trying to say. So,
Interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah. So we did that with the sound. It allowed people, the needles to go in, whether it's deeper or, without even being able to feel them. And then the people were able to have the process go longer because they were just in a daze. They were in a theta to delta state. Usually, most of the time, when we're doing relaxation practices, especially in group settings and even in offices, you're in the alpha state. So, alpha state is achieved, you know, when I can just say, Kola, let's close our eyes and just breathe in slowly through the nostrils, allowing the breath to go down towards the lower abdomen, pushing the lower abdomen out. And we instantly go, ooh.
Yeah.
That's the alpha state trying to activate between either a higher or lower state. But you're not in your true relaxed state. So what we have is people kind of in between, and via the brain entrainment, the headphones and the music that's going on, I'm allowing the brain and the breath to go down to theta and delta. And then the other frequencies are going on at the same time, whether it's a VAT table, whether it's particular singing bowls for certain organs, um, or sonic frequency pods, bass pods, tuning for it. I got all types of, toys. It's like tools. Let me say tools. They're not toys, they're tools. That is also being done as well. So there's multiple things, but the first thing to me is if the body isn't relaxed, then the healing process doesn't happen. The body doesn't heal when it's really as active. It's like we have to work. I'm not going to
Yeah.
repair while you work. You have to rest and then I repair. Um,
Indeed.
yeah, I hope that explains it. I can go deeper into it, but
Yeah. 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 So it's interesting. So first, next is how do you use how those headphone and the music, the sound, the frequency. If I want to say, let's say I want to really increase my manifestation rate
mm,
or creativity rate. I want to really increase it. I want to really blow it out, like really increase my manifestation and creativity
hmm
and flow state, which is creativity and manifestation. What program, protocols, and what kind of musical frequency code do I have to listen to?
so you
Do I
can
have
approach
to
it.
and
Not.
train?
So this is a very interesting question because you can approach it from different ways.
Yeah,
If I was to approach it from a chakra system, it would be enhancing the sexual energy, so the sacral chakra, and
yeah,
resonating that, with the pineal gland, the third eye, the ajna,
yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then the crown. And I'm always, when I focus on the chakras, the 7 chakras are like your basic chakras. I like the soul chakra and all these other chakras because that's inner body. We very seldom talk about outer body because, in the Kali Yuga cycle, people were comfortable being inner body. Now, this
Yeah.
new cycle, and when we're talking about quantum fields and physics, this is all outer body, you know.
Yeah.
So the frequencies I would use first is has to do with deep delta. My delta wave frequency patterns have done well in tests. And people will say, well, how are you doing delta? Because, if the person didn't go to sleep, most people go to sleep on it. And while they're asleep, that's when your dream state happens. So now your conscious is relying on the subconscious. When we're awake, our conscious is doing a thing and you have subconscious programs running. Meditation is in between. Medi means middle in Latin. So intation is ation is the process of. So the process of being in the middle, in the
The
center.
middle.
So the process of that is taking your conscious intentions to inspire the subconscious or asking, it to make you aware or programming it. So what I do is to a manifestation process that a program that I would create would first take a person so deep out of the body in a delta wave state where their imagination and their dreams, and which is where their creativity comes from, runs rampant. So then from there, inspiring either some type of mantras or some type of different types of frequencies that deal with the pineal gland. It's all about pineal gland activation, to get the brain to see from, they say the third eye, but the prefrontal cortex, because now your limitations and your possibilities are unlimited because you're not functioning from the mammalian and reptilian brain, the survival mode and, fight,
Yeah.
flight, and eat and
Yeah.
sex, all those the lower
Yeah.
levels. So from there, then if you have a particular manifestation you're trying to achieve, usually that comes through like visions, colors, and things while that's happening. To enhance that process, we would go through and create even a mantra or something, a seeding that is played while that's going on, while you're in your
Yeah.
deep conscious
Yeah.
state. That's like a quick way that I would do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. And have you heard about mind movies as well?
Mind what?
Mind movies. Movie. Like mind movies.
Uh-uh.
Movie like movie.
Oh,
Like a
movie,
movie.
mind movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I've heard about that.
No, what is that?
I recently heard about it. I've not looked at it very much because I'm a kind of person that I like to, the moment someone tries to sell me something, I try to push it away fast. Let me play with my mind. Let me play with myself first, and then if I get to a place where okay, I think I might need that, then I'll go for it.
Okay.
So it's this thing that it's actually an app right now, but I've not looked at it very much because it just been coming back to my mind just this last week, and it's like I don't know. I think it's like something that you play with on your phone. Why? I don't know whether you're in a different brainwave and then you play with it, blah blah blah, and then it just programs your subconscious mind. I don't know at all, but I thought you will know about it. So that's cool. Well, that's okay. And is the headphone quality? Does it matter the quality of the headphone?
For me, being kind of an audiophile,
Yeah.
yes. Um, and when the degradation of music, not even because a lot of people talk about the concert A being changed from 432 to 417 to higher to 440 or 442 over in your parts in Europe. Um, that's only one portion of the shift in how the brain and energy consciousness has changed on the planet. Another thing is the degradation of sound. So a lot of live music, was listened to, and then it it became, electronic. So it became the sample of something. So keyboards, I love keyboards and stuff, but they are the sample of a piano. You have drums on the keyboard, they are a sample of a drum kit. So now you take that from the analog and then you digitize it. So you took the sample and you create other samples from that in how it processes the signal from analog to digital. If the converters are not great, what I'm trying to speak on here is getting back to the pure sine wave, the pure tone. And that sine wave is pure. It's not choppy. And that's what it looks like when it's digital. So the listening to MP3s, for instance, around the planet, just to save space on your drive or whatever, to have all the music in the world that you only can listen to, 20 songs, has affected, the sine wave and how we're receiving the information. Yeah. So you can see it. You see it reflects itself in society. And then you can see how people respond when they're into a situation where either live music, even if it's live keyboards and they have a nice system and the amps are good and things like that, it resonates the body differently. So what we gotta get back to is understanding, sound in physics. Is they refer to sound as sound energy. It's not sound, it's sound energy. It's an energy. And they call it a mechanical energy because it moves things. And what sound does all the time is what is called force vibrations. So you can resonate anything by just sounding it, because the sound is going out, the frequency is going out and it's hitting, it's moving something. So it's moving everything in its perimeter.
Yeah.
So when we're degrading that sound, that force vibration, with like weak headphones or weak signals or degraded files that don't hold, because when you do MP3s, it shaves off some of the bass and some of the highs. So it compresses it like this.
Yeah.
Where you don't have this full range.
Yeah.
When we look at the electromagnetic spectrum, that's what I'm like, that's what I'm trying to get. So I want to have if it's something I want to be audible, I would like it to be from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, the span of human hearing. When you're compressing things, it's taking some of the bass out and it's taking some of the highs out. So we have an experience outside of the concert A being changed for centuries, then the music being compressed. We haven't experienced the full bandwidth of sound in the audible realm. So anything you have that can enhance that, better headphones, better quality files, better quality players, it's important. Now, if we're dealing with subsonic frequencies, meaning bass type of frequencies, I don't think it doesn't have to be so hi-fi, because all you're doing is rocking stuff. You're just resonating like stuff. But when it gets into, things outside of higher than the subsonic and a subwoofery type of thing, it needs to have some clarity to it,
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. So we could actually say that we have really abused or underused, overused sound energy in our civilization. and we've not really used it to foster our consciousness as a civilization, which will also affect our ability to manifest as higher beings and higher consciousness, higher civilization, and advanced civilization, simply because for some reason we've corrupted everything. We've
Exactly.
adorated everything on this planet. And it just feels like to me right now, like a revelation of sound energy, not just sound, but sound energy. And my curiosity right now, which has been for me for quite a long time, because I went through a very difficult time for 19 years of my life in the UK, come from Nigeria as a 17 years old child at that time,
Hmm.
and where my passport was really messed up by my so-called, stepmom, and they didn't arrange anything properly for me to travel. I found myself without any papers, and I tried to put myself through, and they asked me to do some stuff to sort it out. I said, no, I can't do that. That I'm a spiritual person. So they kicked me out of the house.
Oh
And
wow.
since I know, second month, I arrived in the UK in November 1997, and by January 4th, 1998, I was on the street. And luckily, I made a friend with this guy whom I met, him and his wife, in a church, in a very spiritual church, which also really helps me facilitate my journey at that time, spiritually wise,
Hmm.
because I end up leaving Christianity in 2001. And I went to, college, university, and my first year in university, I realized that I needed to apply for loans to do their university.
Hmm.
Luckily, I'm lucky now that I didn't get the loan, but also also unlucky that I didn't finish university, because that would have made my settlement in the UK really fast. But that did not happen, so I was back to square zero. So I went back, you know, to the street, and I got myself a job, more like a cash in hand job in Tower Bridge in London, in a Christian bookshop. And for the next 9 years, from 2001 up to 2011, I was working for this woman. And within that time as well, I was also able to put some money together to solve to deal with the immigration. And they were not really listening to any of my story, because I didn't meet their checklist. And it took me
Hmm.
from 2011, uh, it took me another 6 years from 2011, it took me another 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It took me another 7 years
Hmm.
from 2011, when I left the bookshop in London, to actually, met now my ex-wife, and, who I actually got my stay in the country. But what I'm trying to say is that it kind of really, it wasn't until the divorce I started realizing, and I went through the chaos of dealing with the divorce and how nasty the divorce was and the whole thing. It wasn't until after that I start to accept that my brain has been impacted by living in such a chaotic, uncertain, insecure situation for such a long time. That's about 19 years of my life. And it wasn't really until this year, in March last year, when the lockdown started, and I started delving more into meditation, like 2 hours meditation of sound meditation, and I start to see that, you know, why am I struggling to imagine the future, to create the future? Why am I struggling to create a future, to allow my imagination to run free? Why do I feel scared about it? And, you know, and why do I find it so difficult? And even, the divorce as well left me in a very difficult place because I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home dad. I wasn't working, and plus the years where I wasn't working properly as well. So I didn't have any savings, anything. So it was really a really interesting time of just continuous struggle. but but I have this side of me, which you can say fight or flight, where I was always moving, exercise. I was maniac at exercise. Throughout my time in London, I was doing like um, 11 9 miles, 11 9 miles every day in London. In the weekend, I would do 22 miles
Oh
running
wow.
from one city to another city. And, that kept me really strong. I'll be exercising in snow. That's the fight or flight energy.
Hmm.
And I was also able to find some peace in that moment. But there was this subtle thing that I know I cannot change, like dealing with the immigration authority. I can't change that, you know. So it took me a long time anyway to sort it out. And now I am wondering, like, how can I, when it comes to people, let's say trauma, for example, complex
Hmm.
PTSD,
Hmm.
which is a trauma that starts in childhood
Hmm.
through emotional neglect, and where the child ends up dissociating from a very young age, and their body is chemically and chemically, um, hormonally conditioned to shutting down. And that is not my case, but I'm thinking about trauma in general, and how can you how can sound and the power of sound energy shift people from you know from that high, better brainwave where they're just totally focused on some external threat without any interoception, or without any um, proprioception either, any sense of their body or any sense of their internal feelings. How can you use sound to begin to entrain the brain, to condition the brain over time to being in either you know low or mid better brainwave where they are balanced in their internal world, and they can maintain balance in their internal world at least.
Yeah, that is my goal. You know, hire me to dictate the World Sound Organization.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
But what what we're not realizing is what you just said. We are under a constant, and I got to use this word. It is attack because it's forced vibrations through organizations like Clear Channel, whatever. What they're putting on radio, what they're showing on TV, are things that are not for well-being or peacefulness. They're actually things that excite dopamine effects in the brain and cause an addiction effect, to make money or to promote advertisement. So, to answer your question, we would have to create a society that uses sound in a functional aspect versus emotional. So we're not playing something or listening to something because it just sounds good or feels good. It really sounds good and feels good because it has a function to heal us. And all the time, that might feel weird. I've had some situations where it'll be a whole room of people that's like so relaxed, and then there's one person who has trauma, like you said, and they're like, I don't know what's going on, and because there's a lack of
Yeah,
trust, right?
yeah, yeah,
So imagine if radio hired all um, conscious intention healing therapy
yeah,
type of artists, and or even just let's say that's probably far fetched. Let's just say, what if the concert A went back to 432 or even lower. So everybody began to tune their instruments. Wherever they played, they tuned the instruments back to some ancient tunings. And then also it was against the law to use all these profanity, and then because the music's getting worse. Like I remember growing up, I grew up in an era where the first parental advisory stamp on an album came out. Before then, you couldn't put, there was like, you couldn't just market music or put it on the airwaves or sell it without a lot of cuss words on it. You know, those things were like those, you know, in the back of the record store, and people like, yeah, let me get that copy. But it wasn't this commercial thing.
Yeah.
I remember when the parental advisory stamp came, and gangster hip hop and, you know, all of these different things. And then even before that, you had the black exploitation movies and things like that. So imagine if the images and the soundtracks, because we look at sound as just music, but there is no TV without sound. There is no outside entertainment without sound. There is no world without sound.
Indeed.
How would we get people back to feeling their bodies and things like that? Is, to me, and that's, I do it a lot, is I reintroduce nature sounds into my environmental space. So oftentimes people will call and they'll be talking to me for a while, and then it never fails. They say, what the hell? Are you in a bird sanctuary? Where are you? And it's so funny. And I go, oh, no. I have this bird sanctuary playing in the background. And what that does is, I posted a video, I think last week or the week before, I believe it was last week, of a guy talking about sound being put in the workplace spaces, and how people shop to sound and how they're planning to change that. Later on in that video, he talks about something I've always been doing, is people feel safe when they hear the birds. He's like, there's a trust. Even the animals, when the birds not chirping or the birds flying away, the animals just get up and start running. You know, humans, we don't know it, but in the city environments without birds, we're not fully trusting of those situations. That's why people are trying to run to the parks and run to the beach when they need to ground themselves, and there's not even a lot of birds there. So they found that nature sounds, water and birds, crickets, you can trust those things because they're not trying to attack you, number one. And they've been around longer than we've been around. So the resonance frequencies of those different things actually ground us to not even go within ourselves, but we begin to go outside of ourselves to resonate with the environment.
Indeed.
Yeah, go ahead.
So how do we capture the frequency? Because like you've been saying, and I know this very well, how do we capture the the frequency and just the exact code? How do we capture it and put it? And where you know should we put it on the CD, or should it be on Spotify to make sure the frequency is just exact, or what?
Right now, it needs to be everywhere. Lo-fi, hi-fi, middle. Because what happens is we are entraining the body to get used to natural frequencies again. Not just boom, bip, and beat machine music and people cursing and images that show like, just, sexual or violence or gangster type of things. Our bodies are being constantly entrained. So just as much as entrainment is in those realms all across the board, we need these entrainment protocols all across the board. So you get in the elevator, because that's the most common music you hear is elevator music. That's it in society. That's like when people accept that. Well, I'm on a call on hold. I'll take this music, or I'm in the elevator, or
Yeah.
or Christmas shopping. But other than that, most of the people are trying to turn up. So, because the music, they made it where they're trying to keep you in that beta state. They want you to, go do this. We want you to activate. We want you to work.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of restful
Yeah.
music.
Theta is that where you are very susceptible to suggestion, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Where your body is asleep, but your mind is awake. Is that right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The body is not it's not the mind anymore. So the mind is very suggestible. So they can control you. Is that
Right.
right?
Exactly. And that's their way in. So anything that gets your, and another thing too, there's certain colors, certain sounds, certain BPMs that causes brain states. Most of the pop records and things out there, they fall into the program for that. So they say this is how we get these people to go buy this album or listen to this over and over again, or this is how we get them to like it. And that is brain entrainment. When they play something on the radio every hour, they're entraining you because, well, what I like to tell people, like, why do they call TV and radio um, broadcast programs?
Of
It's a
course.
TV program. It's a
It's a TV
radio
program.
program. These are
Yeah.
programs. So that's why I say what I do is programs. I'm a computer science major. That's what I majored in,
Interesting.
minor in mathematics and African American studies. And then my music background came, before that, and I'm learning more and more and more. But I'm approaching it from programs. These are programs. We are not just listening to music as entertainment. Everything
No.
we're experiencing is brain entrainment. So
Fascinating. I think I wish that we had, next time when I will talk more about manifestation and music. And I will talk more about manifestation, and then we go from that to talking about, um, yeah, I think we talk about that anyway already, about helping people with trauma. So is the nature music. And for example, I use this one, this headphone. That's all I use. These
yeah,
what do
beats.
you call it? Dr. Dre. I
Yeah,
think
those
it's
are
Dr. Dre.
beats. Yeah, those are
Yeah,
pretty
that
good
yes,
actually.
yeah. So if I want to, as if I want to really speed up my creativity, which I need to speed up right now, a manifestation, what kind of sound do you have or can you make for me to entrain my mind, my brain to over and over to condition or entrain?
So this is the other caveat to audio pharmacology and how I live my life. So I would work with, say, for if you wanted me to make some music to jumpstart your creativity or
Yeah.
enhance it. I'm gonna look at your astrological makeup. I need to know what's under your hood. So we're gonna start there. Then I'm gonna look at your daily lifestyle, because what we're talking about is how is your concept of time? What are you using as your gauge for time? Is your time invested into what exactly? Usually people time invest into work, trying to achieve something, so they don't really allow the amount of time and energy into these other areas. So then we're going to hack that. This is how I hacked, or hack time. And they were doing this, and they're still doing it. People just don't know. So the invention of time. A lot of people don't really know how time was invented. They thinking it's just a sundial and a thing. And they're just like, okay, we're going to create that into a watch, and then the dial's going to go around and create it to clocks, and now we got calendars on our computer and our phones. No, time was created to measure planetary and energetic cycles. So it wasn't just about the sun, and it wasn't just about the moon. It was about the planets. Not all of them are included, but 7 planets are, and they consider the sun and the moon a planet as well. Any heavenly body outside of Earth. So to get your creativity pumping, Fridays is a very important day for you. My frequencies are going to have the frequencies for the planet for Friday, which is Venus. Then I'm going to recommend we have 4 Venus hours on that planetary day, from waxing, waning, and whatever, to do the meditation in there. Because, a lot of people, I don't have time, I don't have all this time. And then from there, I'm going to align the frequencies to your astrology energy, because you are different than everybody else. You were born in a certain time. That time snap which you came into this life is very vital. And then we're also going to look at, from the chakra, the sacral chakra and the pineal gland activation, up to the crown and up to the soul chakra and etc. And in Qigong, we call, what people call the soul chakra in the Hindu system or the yogic system, it's called the Wu Ji. So we're going to activate the upper dantian,
Yeah.
up in here and to the Wu Ji, because you have to receive. Your creativity is there, you just have to receive.
Absolutely.
Then we're going to work on, because that's mental. What about the physical? So if your back is hurting, you know what I'm saying? It's hard for you to go out and do something creative because you're in pain. So we have to look at that as well. So the frequencies that deal with blood and chi circulation, with inflammation and etc. So that's like a quick way. I
Yeah.
intertwine astronomy, astrology, physiology, chakra systems, and etc. all together. So we
Wow.
marry the system, and then now you're like listening to something that is custom for you at the right time, because time is very important, because time is energy. In my, how I see time is energy. We have an abundance of energy. We're not running out of energy. We have to harness it. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. So how do we gain the energy we need to do what we need to do? That's what I do with audio pharmacology. It's like that sound energy. How does that help the experience? Yeah, I hope that.
Wow. Wow. So you're saying that you need to know the time I was born and the day I was born and the year I was born
And where, like what city,
and
etc.
what city I was born.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I send you that and then you would do a, what do you call it, astrological chart, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you figure out different kind of, you know,
Yeah, the
planetary
frequencies.
alignments,
Right.
frequencies.
Because if you know astrology, there's houses.
Yes.
So, what are your houses looking like? What's the energy in those houses? And what needs to be boosted up? Um, and then, for instance, if it was a
Wow.
chi
So
kong, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
it's a whole like, alchemy of bringing different stuff together, and it's not just sound, just enjoy. No.
No, no, I'm not that guy. I'm not. See, people think I'm this sound healer that plays just singing bowls, and then they meet me. I've sat with some pretty esteemed Reiki people, some pretty esteemed physicists, and lectured with them. Once I'm finished and show all this documentations as I'm going through the thing, they like, okay, this guy's serious, because I've been around the world and connect a lot of dots that
A
people are
lot
not
of
connecting.
dots. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Makes I know what you mean. It's like you can go on talking for 2 days and you're still like, I've not even started yet.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm still learning. Like I don't really know anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the whole purpose of man, isn't it? To
Yeah.
learn about the universe, about the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested. So, how can we start? Where can we start?
With what? Doing a protocol like that?
Yeah, for me particularly.
So it definitely have to be getting that astrology information.
Cool. Should I just
Um,
give? So, what would you need from me? What would you need from me?
the the place you were born, the
Yeah,
date, and the time.
the place, date, and time.
Time.
Okay, cool. And
And
then
if you don't know the time,
I know
then
that I think my mom know the time.
okay.
I think it was 6:30, but I need to check it very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, um, there's some other series of questions that I'll have um, in regards to other things, the physical, um, and what your day actually consists of. And is dealing with what you're trying to create. So The reason
Interesting.
why, example, the reason why I held this meeting on a Wednesday when you asked, because it's Mercury Day, and that's the day of communication and thoughts. So I wanted it to align with the day that's dedicated for that energetically. Um, I didn't check to see what hour I put it in, but if I really want to enhance that, I would do it on a day and hour. So just giving you examples of how I navigate through life. I just don't
Yeah.
choose every moment that we call time is an energy stamp and it's auspicious to me. So to hack
Hmm.
life or to become an
I didn't
alchemist,
know that.
I
Yeah.
need to know what I'm working with energetically, and
So
that moves the energy to
yeah.
manifestation. Yeah, because I'm
So
aligning.
time is not like, oh, I'm just checking. It's 9 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. No, time, like you said, is to. Can I say that again? Time is
Time is energy cycles,
energy cycles. Yes.
and how you whether hack life or they say you alchemy of life or master life is mastering energy from Tesla, from Einstein, from George Washington Carver, all of these people down the line, from the Rosicrucians to the African Masonics to the Scottish Masonics, everybody was into this alchemy, and this alchemy has to do with the cycles that are we talking about their time, but they're actually energy cycles.